Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good day. We would like to present our open educational resource titled The Silent Hazard, a Laboratory Safety Horror Case. This open educational resource was developed as a training and teaching material for newly recruited safety and health officers from various industries located in Shah Alam. In accordance with the learning objective of FST 471 Occupational Safety and Health course, laboratory environments are often perceived as controlled and a safe working space. However, in reality, laboratory contain various occupational hazards including chemical, physical, and biological hazards. These hazards may not always be immediately visible, particularly during routine laboratory activities. Therefore, continuous safety awareness, proper identifications, and effective risk assessment are essential to prevent accidents and injury in laboratory setting.
Many laboratory accidents are preventable, yet they continue to occur in both educational and industrial environment. In many cases, accidents do not happen because hazards are unknown, but because safety procedures are overlooked. Common safety failures include the absence of hazard identification, failure to conduct hazard identification, risk assessment and risk control, also known as HIRAC, and inadequate enforcement of personal protective equipment. Newly recruited safety and health officers may possess theoretical knowledge of occupational safety and health, but may have limited exposure to real workplace incidents and their consequences. This gap between theory and practice can increase the risk of unsafe decision making. Therefore, the objective of this OER product are to identify potential hazards present in laboratory environment, to assess the level of risk associated with each identified hazard through proper risk assessment, to implement appropriate control measures in accordance with the hierarchy of control, to prevent laboratory accidents, injuries, and occupational exposure, and to ensure compliance with the Occupational Safety and Health Act 1994 and the Occupational Safety and Health Amendment Act 2022.
The Silent Hazard is a short, narrative-based training video that adopts a serious and professional instructional approach inspired by psychological tension rather than entertainment. The video presents a laboratory scenario where routine chemical handling is conducted without proper hazard identification or risk assessment. Personal protective equipment is also not enforced, despite the presence of hazardous substances. As a result, a laboratory injury occurs. This incident is followed by an investigation conducted by the Department of Occupational Safety and Health, and subsequently, legal action is taken against the responsible party. The novelty of this OER lies in its use of instructional storytelling instead of conventional lecture-based delivery. Horror elements are carefully applied through silence, tension, and realistic scenarios, allowing learners to experience the seriousness of safety failures. This approach encourages engagement and deeper understanding of occupational safety and health responsibilities while maintaining academic integrity and professional standards. In addition to the video, this open educational resource is supported by an innovative HIRAC poster developed by our group, which visually summarizes the key steps of hazard identification, risk assessment, and risk control based on the video scenario, serving as a practical reference for learners.
The scenario presented in this video is highly practical and reflects laboratory practices commonly found in educational institutions, industrial laboratories, and research facilities. The safety failures demonstrated, such as the absence of HIRAC documentation and inadequate enforcement of personal protective equipment, are issues frequently identified during workplace inspections and investigations conducted by the Department of Occupational Safety and Health. This OER also emphasizes the importance of legal compliance. It highlights Section 15 of the Occupational Safety and Health Act 1994, which places a duty on employers to ensure a safe working environment. In addition, Section 18B of the Occupational Safety and Health Amendment Act 2022 is highlighted, which mandates risk assessment for all work activities. Through this, learners are reminded that experience does not replace compliance with occupational safety and health legislation. This OER provides significant benefits to newly recruited safety and health officers by improving hazard awareness, strengthening understanding of risk assessment, and control measures and reinforcing legal responsibility in laboratory environments. By clearly linking unsafe practices to injuries and legal consequences, the video encourages proactive safety management and responsible decision-making among future safety professionals. In conclusion, the silent hazard is an effective open educational resource that transforms occupational safety and health theory into a realistic and meaningful learning experience. By integrating hazard identification, risk assessment, implementation of control measures, and legal compliance, this product supports safer laboratory practices and enhances OSH learning outcomes. With this understanding of HIRAC in mind, we developed an open educational resource that demonstrates what can happen when HIRAC is ignored or improperly implemented in a laboratory setting. Our OER uses a realistic scenario to show how the absence of hazard identification, risk assessment, and proper control measures can lead to injuries and legal consequences. We would now like to present our OER titled The Silent Hazard, a Laboratory Safety Horror Case. Now that we understand what HIRAC is, let's move on to the first type, hazard identification. Anis will explain this part.
So now, I will explain the first part of HIRAC, which is hazard identification. Hazard identification is the process of recognizing anything that can cause harm or injury in the workplace. A hazard is anything with the potential to cause injury, illness, or damage. There are several types of hazard, including physical hazard, chemical hazard, biological hazard, ergonomic hazard, and mechanical hazard. Identifying this hazard early is important to help prevent accident and protect worker safety.
After identifying the hazards, we need to assess how dangerous they are. Farah will now explain risk assessment.
Moving on, let's talk about risk assessment. It's a simple but powerful tool to help us stay safe. Risk assessment answers the question, how dangerous is the hazard? To evaluate risk, we look at two things. First is the likelihood, how often might the hazard happen? And second is the severity. If this does happen, how serious could the injury or harm be? We then combine these two factors using a simple formula, which is risk level equal to likelihood times risk severity. This gives us a risk score, a clear way to prioritize which hazard need our attention first. High risk activities get controlled immediately. Lower risk can be monitored. Why is this so important? Because risk assessment prevents accidents before they happen. It protects people, safeguards resources, and ensures we meet legal and ethical responsibility. It turns uncertainty into clear, actionable step towards a safer workplace. Remember, identifying risk is not about creating a fear. It's about creating clarity. By assessing likelihood and severity, we make smarter, safer decisions every day.
The final step in HIRAC is risk control, which aims to eliminate or reduce risk to an acceptable level. Risk control measures are implemented according to the hierarchy of controls, which includes elimination, substitution, engineering controls, administrative controls, and PPE. The poster emphasizes that PPE is the last line of defense and should not be relied upon as the primary control measure. Examples of effective risk control shown in the poster include proper chemical storage, the use of fume hoods during chemical handling, and wearing appropriate PPE such as gloves and safety goggles. Implementing these controls help minimize the risk of laboratory accidents and injuries.